It is time for another go-round of Soccer Down here live from REVERB by Hard Rock Atlanta. Jon here, Maddie there. Madison Crews on the ones and twos. Jason will be here in just a little bit. We'll go over everything as Atlanta United's getting ready for FC Cincinnati. And we are under the shadow. Well, are we technically under the shadow of Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
Definitely under, because, I mean, Mercedes-Benz is huge.
We're under the
We're definitely like
here.
a couple feet below.
So it's
sure.
like over there behind us for those of you that are watching on the live stream. So we're going to go over Atlanta and FC Cincinnati. Thanks to everybody who's here, hanging out, having dinner, and being a part of REVERB by Hard Rock Atlanta. REVERB, fantastic partners with us here at SDH. And here's the rundown for when we're here. So Maddie and I are going to talk. We're going to get the table set. Then after that, Jason's going to come in, and Maddie and Jason are going to talk about Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati. Then I'm going to come in. We're going to talk about the madness of the Open Cup, or the magic of the Open Cup.
The magic of the Open Cup.
The madness of the Open Cup.
Trademark is impending.
That is true, along with hashtags and everything and the gear that's going to come with. And then if anybody has any questions about FC Cincinnati, Atlanta United, and the make or take segment. It's almost like a Wall Pass Wednesday. If anybody has questions, you can bring them in. Maybe we'll have questions for you as we go. So that's the rundown for how it's going to be here as we are once again here on the rooftop. See, now you look down, and it's even different from the way it was when we were here the last time, because you look over our left shoulder, for those of you who are here on the rooftop, and you get to see a building that is how many stories? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they're like the cranes are on the 10th floor of the building here off to our left. And so there's a lot of development here, and it's really cool to see all of this stuff develop here in the Gulch and all of the development here in this part of downtown.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, especially with everything expanding, with all the other games you're going to be getting here at the Benz, it's nice to be building something that's like right next to it. Something like this. It's great.
So we had She Believes.
She Believes.
50,644.
Oh, yeah.
And set a record. Atlanta setting a record in soccer attendance. Who knew? What a surprise. Exactly. And so you've got that. You've got Atlanta United, where it's 43,000 pretty much every time, unless they open the upper tank, and you can get as much as 71. Then you've got Club World. Well, you've got Copa. What am I missing here? So as we get into our Club World Cup, you've got Copa America coming.
You got some friendlies too, right?
Yep, you got friendlies coming.
I believe it's Chelsea and Club America.
Sounds good. So Chelsea and Club America in the heart of the summer, you've got that. Then you've got Club World Cup. Then you've got something called the World Cup, the planetary extravaganza with all the best on the planet. And then probably, now you're going to have me grab my phone. Because I'm trying to figure out when the alleged announcement is supposed to be for the Women's World Cup here in 2027. And it's supposed to be fairly soon. Frankly, it should have been, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago for the sake of, infrastructure and stuff. So, all right. So we're going to our bastion of journalistic integrity, Wikipedia. We're looking at deadlines. So host selection. I'm scrolling. Format, it references external things. It says during the 2027 process, the hosts for 2030 and 2034 were confirmed by FIFA. But it doesn't say when things are going to be decided as to when this is going to be.
Shouldn't we know soon? Like maybe end of May, June, July? You
would have, yes. Scheduled to take place, no, the Women's World Cup. Where? Okay. So they've begun conducting FIFA has begun conducting inspection visits to the countries that have confirmed their bids to host the Women's World Cup. And so we don't know yet. U.S. and Mexico have a bid. Belgium, Germany, Netherlands have a bid. Brazil has a bid. And we still don't know where yet.
I believe they're still at the different host sites looking and seeing what each one has. Because they did our tour.
Yes.
Very early in this year.
Okay. So according to our friends at FIFA, they say the hosts are to be announced in May of 2024.
So I was right.
So May is when we're going to know whether or not there are going to be more events here in 2027. So you've got stuff in 24, stuff in 25, stuff in 26, and maybe something in 27, but we'll see. But we got the building for it right behind us here. 50,000 for She Believes Cup. How about this? I propose that the Women's World Cup final be in this building over our right shoulders that we're staring at.
Absolutely.
So that way you could have
Absolutely
the best in the world here, 71,000. Because if you can get 50,000 for a She Believes Cup doubleheader, 71,000 in that building easily.
Oh, for sure.
Would absolutely
for
happen.
Sure. I mean, you already did what you did with the She Believes Cup. I mean, and that was all partially open.
Yeah,
I mean, I guarantee you, if you'd opened the full thing, we would have had a lot more.
Yeah, you had the curtain on the one side. The TV side was open.
Yeah,
where people could go, and you ended up with north of 50,000. So you got to have it here. You got to have it in the US in 27 because everything's already in place. And it's just like you roll the events over. It's like, yeah, okay, you did it in 26. Everything's fine. You're cool in 27.
Well, I mean, looking at it too from a standpoint of like infrastructure and event management, U.S. and Mexico already are doing the bid with Canada this year. They already know everything it takes to do it.
Yeah, it's like
it makes the most sense to do it the next year.
It's like
so they already have it all done.
Yo, fam.
Exactly.
We can do this. We're good. We got you covered. Go ahead and say it. So May apparently is when this is supposed to be announced, and it better be the U.S. and U.S. and Mexico. So this past week on SDH, the morning show 9:05 until whenever. And you can watch it on Twitch, on our YouTube, on our 280 character app. And if you don't like, or if you haven't liked or friended or are part of our conversation on all of our social media, subscribe, like, friend, be a part of it. So I'm pointing at you, people who might be watching. I'm pointing at you. If you haven't subscribed, if you're not a part of it yet, be a part of it. And so 9:05 until 11 whenever Eastern time, because it's kind of a loose construct. It's supposed to be a 2-hour show, and it goes for longer than that.
Yeah.
So
if we get on rants.
Yeah, we go off the rails, and we have that kind of fun. But you end up with a lot of stuff that happened in the week, and a lot of stuff that we are going to talk about here today, getting ready for the action behind us. It started with the draw with Philadelphia.
Yep.
Got that out of our system. Got through the Open Cup. Got to catch up with folks. All the stuff that we're looking at, all the matches for the weekend that are across the board that we've got juice boxes that we looked at, some interesting stuff going on in lower divisions with rivalries. So it is a jam-packed weekend that we've been setting up the entire week to get us to right here. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Open Cup, obviously, that's a big one, especially now you got the bid. MLS clubs are finally now joining it, figuring out who we're going to be playing, as that is Charlotte Independence. That's always fun. And knowing where we're going to be in that area, if we were going to be away or if you're going to be playing at Fifth Third, that's always nice to know.
The magic of the envelopes and the drawing at the offices in South Florida.
But yeah, the magic of the Open Cup. It was,
that was a scooter. I thought it was an airplane. I thought it was like a crop duster or something that was trying to.
I thought it was like a drone, like that was just like flying.
See?
Nope, there it is. Okay,
I'm not crazy.
That's loud.
That is incredibly loud. So it's a scooter without a muffler that we could hear 11 stories up. That is a strong muffler, or a strong lack of a muffler.
I love it.
73,019? Yeah. That's easy.
We got that.
The most important person, as our friend, the Abster, comes over, most important person should be for the Women's World Cup final should be the fire marshal. He's the one who's going to sit there and say, yeah, you can come in. Yeah, you're good. Just kind of let folks in. They're kind of hanging around on the concourse. 73,000, you get 74. You get them hanging on the rafters over by the cars and the catwalks and things like that.
I would be like just standing out there if I couldn't get a ticket.
And if you didn't get a ticket, you could be right here.
That's what I'm saying.
You could be right here watching everything.
I can get everything. I like it.
And you sit there and you can kind of look through the windows and see what's going on. You get to see the people
I don't know how much like view you can get from the windows, but I mean, you could try.
Get a bunch of reflection and you can see people buying things.
Binoculars.
Yeah.
You can use binoculars. That works too.
And that's why we loved coming here to be here a part of things at REVERB by Hard Rock. So all of the stuff that's happened during the week, it's still, it leads us into other things. You mentioned the Open Cup opponents, the Alonzo division. They actually came up with names for the divisions after folks that are important to the Open Cup. So the Alonzo division has Atlanta United playing Charlotte Independence at Fifth Third, May the 7th, 7:30, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And then the other half of it is South Georgia Tormenta playing Charleston Battery in Patriots Point. And I know we were all hoping We were all hoping.
I wanted the Atlanta United South Georgia Tormenta matchup. I wanted it so bad.
But you couldn't play it at Paulson, though.
No.
You couldn't play it at the Georgia Southern Football Stadium.
No, it would have to be at Statesboro.
Yeah.
It would have to be.
It would have to be. It has to be at Tormenta Stadium. It can't be at Paulson Stadium where Georgia Southern plays football because it's not wide enough.
Oh.
That's the only reason.
Okay.
It's like it's not wide enough. To have 20,000 people in that building would have been fantastic. It's just not wide enough for soccer.
Okay.
And so if Atlanta United comes through, if South Georgia Tormenta goes and beats Charleston, then you would have Atlanta United and you would have Tormenta in the next round. That is a bit of a tease because you this week on the show caught up with a couple of folks that are in the Alonzo division that are head coaches that are attached to this stuff.
I did. I got to talk to head coach Ian Cameron for South Georgia Tormenta. We talked about that crazy matchup between Rhode Island FC that happened on Tuesday, which was absolutely crazy. Mm-hmm. And then I also got to talk to Coach, oh my gosh,
Mike Jeffries.
Yes. I lost my full train of thought. But yes, I got the chance to talk to him as well about their matchup on Wednesday, about the craziness of the Open Cup, because it wouldn't be the Open Cup without it being absolutely nuts every time you turn on one of the streams.
Yeah. And so we were watching and we were earning Maddie her Open Cup Sickos card. So we had her watching as many as 9 different matches on Wednesday because you had a lot of them that started like 7:30 and you had them going to extra time. And so they bled over each other. And so literally the way that it was structured on some of the websites, it's like, go here, go here, go here. It's like, oh, this is going on here. Oh, go watch this one. Literally, it was like squirrel. Ooh,
I was having a fun time.
Yeah.
It was great.
Switching back and forth.
I had like 3 different tabs pulled up and I had each game just going, but then I had one that I was listening to. And then when things would happen, I would just jump from like each one. And
so we'll get into that. We'll get into that coming up. The survivors, the 32 that are left. This is when the 8 new teams come in from Major League Soccer, including Atlanta United. The 8 new teams come in from USL Championship. Most of the time, some of the groups, they make sense. Then there were times when they didn't. And oh boy, did they not make sense. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. We'll hear from Mike Jeffries talking about the next round of Open Cup. We'll hear from Ian Cameron about what it's like to be on the road and to have that mentality and carry it on in the next round in the Open Cup. So it's Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati. It is Open Cup a Palooza, talking about anything and everything there and any questions that you guys have when it comes to everything across the board. So that is the introduction of what is going on here today. Once again, you guys have questions about anything going on, have them in your brain, maybe write them down on my legal pad or something and let us know and throw them at us at some point before the end of the show. But now is going to be, is Jason loitering around here anywhere? I don't blame the man. On a Friday afternoon, having got through. Well, I mean, I would hope that he might be able to hear. Just kind of maybe if we waved frantically. Well, okay. But if we sit there and we kind of wave frantically or maybe like counted to 3 and went, like, Jason, something like that, just kind of, yelled and was like, hey, dude. Well,
do you
want to maybe if we summon him? Jason, Abby's coming to get you for the transition from one segment to the next.
We have to play Philadelphia Union again. I have Philadelphia.
There we go.
That's what got him. It was the Philadelphia Union. That's what got him.
So yelling out a transitional thought. So Jason can sit there and let us know what things are like indoors. And so now you're going to stay. I'm going to go. Stay. And the two of you are going to talk about Atlanta and FC Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
There we go. I'm leaving. Jason's coming in.
That's a great transition.
Great transition. And I summoned you with Philadelphia Union. I brought it up and you heard it from a distance.
I thought I heard my name and I should have known that you mentioned Philly and I just immediately clenched my fist.
You just immediately got mad.
It's like driving down in Fayette County and driving by Sandy Creek High School and I just get angry for some reason. You talk about Philadelphia and it's just.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of that, obviously moving ahead from the draw.
Going straight in.
Let's do it. Going straight from the draw this week. It's been a little bittersweet. Me and you got the chance to go up and see the training, get to talk to some of the players, talk to head coach Gonzalo Pineda about that matchup. What were your initial takeaways from the match after having like a day or two to sit on it and actually think about what happened in that match.
I give Gonzalo a ton of credit. I really like the way that he put it. It was a frustrating outcome because of the work that the team put in. Team played really well. And I know, look, we get hung up when we talk about teams that we love and we get passionate about it and we get angry and we get mad and we get all those feelings are real. Like that's sports. That's why we love it. That's why we keep coming back. But that's a game where the outcome didn't match the effort and quality of work put in. And that's what will drive you crazy about this game sometimes. It doesn't always match up. And it's not because of huge, giant mistakes. It's not because of players not being good enough. It's not because of coaching decisions. It's none of that. It's a simple mistake. And I wish I had seen it that day. But one of the things about that pass from Edwin Mosquera, and I've seen it misattributed to Tristan Muyamba, it was Mosquera. The pass, if you go back and watch, as he makes the defensive play, tracking back, putting in a shift, wins the ball, and hits the ball.
Yeah.
When he immediately hits it, Tristan Muyamba looks at him and applauds because it is the right thing to do. He mishit it. He hooked it. He tried to hit it too hard. It hooks away from Gazan. Everyone on the field, including Philadelphia players, froze because it was so unexpected. Mm-hmm. And then Philly recovers, puts it in. The momentum then flipped, and Philadelphia handled that really well. It's one of those where I wish Atlanta had been able to clear the ball into the second deck. Whatever you got to do to slow the game down, make the momentum slow down. It's hard. It's hard to flip your brain that way. Atlanta United doesn't play that way, thankfully, because it's ugly soccer. It's awful soccer. And I'm sick of seeing Philadelphia's style and manner in the way that they do it be applauded. It's disrespectful to the game. It's disrespectful to the fans. It's disrespectful to anybody who takes the game seriously with all the flopping, all the cheap shots, all the other nonsense. So Atlanta's not going to do that, but you've got to find a way to manage momentum when it flips against you because you played too well to not get 3 points out of that game. So I get it. I echo the frustration. A couple days afterwards, I'm more angry than just like frustrated because that was one of the best performances of the season, and it didn't get the reward for it. And look, you got to pick yourself up, and I think this is a team with a good leadership structure to do that. But you got to pick yourself up, and you got to go get the 3 points this weekend against another good opponent. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, yeah, I think, talking about Philadelphia and just how they get applauded for the way they play, and it's not what we all know is the beautiful game. Like, that's not it.
Nope.
It's not
purely a style thing either. Style, we can all have our disagreements about how we want a team to play. You can be effective playing that way. You can be effective with 75% possession. You can be effective being a counterattacking team. Effectiveness and style are different, but it's not even the style choice for me. It's the cynicism. It's the cheap nature of things. It's the elbow from Carranza to Almada that is 100% intentional. They looked, he picked him out, he throws it. It's the flopping and time wasting in the first half with a scoreless draw. It's the Damian Lowe, like in a corner kick situation, grabbing Brad's jersey and yanking it and trying to get him to take a swing or push him. It's that stuff. It's not happening by accident. The time wasting and the other things that they do, they're going to make a substitution, somebody sitting down. Thankfully, they can't do that anymore thanks to the new rules. But all of that stuff is not happening by accident.
No.
And it's very annoying that Jim Curtin is endorsing it and basically throwing it back in people's faces, and we're still applauding it.
Yep.
I applaud their effectiveness. I don't applaud their means to get there. And those are two very different things.
I completely.
And the ref, Jose Martinez, should have been sent off in the first half.
Yep.
Because that's the second yellow in every jurisdiction in the world, except somehow at Mercedes-Benz Stadium against the Philadelphia Union.
Well, it was even too, everyone was talking about the throw-in. We can argue about the logistics of the throw-in all we want. We cannot argue about the fact that team literally almost like collapsing Saba in the box and then getting mad when he gets a foul going up and throws the ball. That is a textbook yellow. Second yellow, sent off.
Yeah, 2 yellow cards, no question. You're already on a flashing yellow burnt sienna card after the foul on Slish. I remembered my Crayola colors today. You do that, and then you throw the ball away. And I guess what's so annoying about it is you show the ref up. That's 100% disrespecting the referee's authority. And he said, okay, you can disrespect me. Fine, stay in the field. Terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the game changes if they do that. And that's what I hate about it. We talked about this on the post game for Atlanta United too. Big referee decisions, you hate to keep talking about them.
Yeah.
You hate for people to hear it and say that's an excuse. But when those big decisions happen and they're not handled correctly, we don't know what would have happened if they were done right. If Luke Brennan draws a dogso red late in the first half, down 1-0, that game could be very, very different. If Jose Martinez is sent off at a scoreless draw in the first half, that game could have finished very, very different. We don't find out. And ultimately, the people who pay the price for that are players with their contracts. If teams don't make the playoffs, if teams don't get a high enough seed, coaches, and it's stuff that's outside of their control. If the referees are going to make the statements that they did during the lockout, we have to see better performances from that. And frankly, the decision not to send off Jose Martinez, for me, that referee should not be working this weekend because that is a grievous mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, you don't want to keep complaining about the refs. I'm never one to try and completely blame the refs if we lose or if we draw or anything like that. I try not to, but I feel like this whole weekend, everything with watching Philadelphia Union 1 play against Atlanta United, then watching the twos and watching Philadelphia Union 2 play that way, it's hard not to. It's hard not to talk about what could have been because we won't ever know.
There's game management issues at play, and that's something that I'm really trying to talk a lot about this season in terms of how you manage a game. Calls like the throw-in, it's a judgment call. Did he step over the line? Did he not? It's very close either way. That's a judgment call. You get those right, you get those wrong. I'm not worried about that. We have VAR to fix it in certain cases. Needs to be in all the right cases. Okay, that's fine. You're going to miss calls. Can you justify the call? Yeah, you can justify that decision. Match management is a very important thing, and it's even more magnified when you play a team like Philadelphia that pushes the line every single action of the match. Everything that they do is pushing the line and testing the referee. And the referee in both matches that we saw this week failed to handle it properly. You can't let players show the referee up because then nobody believes any decision that gets made. You can't have players continually try to provoke the opposition without punishment. And you can't have players do things that should have them sent off and not be sent off. It's match management it needs to be a bigger focus with referee development. I hope that we get it, and I would like to see pro, and I'd like to see the U.S. Soccer Federation, who oversees referees as a whole, use what we're seeing from Philadelphia as an absolute test study for you can't allow these things to happen. It doesn't make the match, the game, the style, the day, the experience. It doesn't make any of that the way we want it.
Absolutely. I'm echoing you, giving you roses, all that stuff. Everything's being thrown. That's it.
Really,
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why I knew it would summon. I knew it would summon over here. That's why I said it. But anyway, moving on away from that match, we're looking ahead, just like the team said, obviously, today. But looking ahead to Cincinnati, they play a very similar style, but a little bit backtrack. They have a little bit less of that Union oomph, you would say. Yep. But going against another team like that, how do you switch tactically? How do you maneuver and kind of get into that mindset when you go in to play another harsh team like Cincinnati?
I mean, it actually kind of helps you in a way because you just dealt with it and now you have to deal with it again. It's like a football team that plays a triple option offense and they don't see it very often and it's very hard to prepare for. But then if you happen to see it back-to-back games, okay, then you're ready the second time around. It helps you. You already kind of prepared. So that's something in this case that applies to a point. Cincinnati does it differently. They play three center backs for one. They're probably going to be in some form of a 5-2-1-2 or a 5-2-3 or a 2-2-1. There's a lot of different ways they could do it, but that line of 5 changes it. They're not as aggressive with their pressure and their direct play because they actually have guys who aren't afraid of having the ball at their feet. You know, Lucho Acosta is one of the best players in the league. You want him on the ball in dangerous spots. You want him to be able to create. So I think playing Cincinnati after Philadelphia, it helps you lock into being pressed at times. It helps you lock into dealing with somebody like Matt Miazga, who would fit right in with Philadelphia. It helps you deal with that stuff and keep your mental approach locked in. But it's actually, in my opinion, an easier matchup, not because Cincinnati's a lesser team, but because they're a team that some of their weaknesses actually line up with some of Atlanta's strengths. And I hope that Atlanta United can exploit that on Saturday.
You're going up against a player like Acosta, and Acosta is known. He's very at it with the ball. You are always going to see him try to get the ball, and a lot of teams obviously try to man mark him. Is that something that you're expecting the defense for United to do? And also, with that being said, if you're focusing solely on Acosta, that opens the door for other players to step up and maybe sweep through. So how do you navigate that when you're a team and you know you have a player like Acosta who's going to create problems for you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think you can man mark a guy like Acosta because of his movement. There's some guys that you know where they're going to be and you can mark them. Acosta, what he's so good at doing, and watch for this tomorrow, when Cincinnati is defending, Lucho doesn't really get too involved in that. And if you want to compare the two number 10s, Thiago will drop deep. He will put a tackle in. When you're building up the play, he'll get involved. He'll receive the ball from the back line and turn and start the approach. He likes that. Lucho doesn't. And that's just different players. Lucho's a little bit smaller too. You know, he doesn't want to get into those spaces. What he does is when the ball is on the left side for Cincinnati, for example, and they're building up the play and they try to unleash Luca Orejano, their new wingback, Lucho will drift away from the play. He doesn't come to the ball like Almada does. He goes away because what he wants to do is get away from anybody tracking him, anybody following him, receive the ball out wide, and then drive in on goal. So it's hard to mark him. I think your central midfielders, Bartek Sliš and Tristan Muyumba, have to know where he is. Even when you're attacking, you have to kind of know where he's drifted to. But honestly, you might end up with the fullbacks, and especially the way Atlanta builds up the play. A lot of times what they like to do is if Atlanta builds up their play down the right side, for example, Caleb Wiley stays home. He tucks in a little bit. When he's doing that, say Atlanta builds up the play, Wiley's tucked in to help build it up. Lennon takes off down the right. That means the ball's on that side. That means Lucho is probably going to drift to the right, away from the play, drift to Cincinnati's right, Atlanta's left. Caleb's got to know where he's at. Wiley's got to know he's over there and stay home even more. If it's on the opposite side, because for Lucho, it doesn't really matter. He'll go right, left, doesn't care. He'll go away from the play. He'll go to the weak side. If it's the other side, Brooks, when he doesn't necessarily stay on the back line and tuck in. He likes to tuck into the midfield. But if Lucho drifts to that side, Brooks has to know where he is. So it's not really a man mark. It's more of a constant awareness. And this is where you wish you had somebody like Derek Williams, who is so good with the communication. Noah Cobb's got to be vocal, and I think he's growing into that. We don't have to worry about Brad Gazan being vocal. We could probably hear him out here if that was happening. But you have to be locked into those moments because Lucho will go and hide. You got to find him. You can't let him win the hide-and-seek battle.
I feel like every time I watch a Cincinnati match versus United, Acosta always finds a way just to like sneak in there and just like
8 goals and 5 assists against Atlanta.
Exactly.
Crazy.
He finds a way just to bypass everything and sneak in there, and it's probably because he's able to know where no one's going to be, and he's able to kind of hop in and then get out and be like, oh, hey, I'm wide open and I'm just about to, score, and it's great. Yeah,
it's tough. He's an incredible player, and I think he's figured out how to exploit things in that system. The issue for Cincinnati this year, though, without Brandon Vasquez, who's a true number 9, staying high, Bupenza likes to drop in. When last match they played Yuya Kubo as the second forward, Kubo's more of a midfielder anyway. He likes to drop in. So if you go back and you look at the average positions of players on the pitch from Cincinnati, and you didn't know who players were, you would think that the number 10, Acosta, is the 9 because he's the furthest forward because everybody else likes to tuck in. Now, remember, we had this conversation in 2021, in 2022, as Joseph Martinez kind of evolved and changed the way that he played. He got a goal out of it in Montreal this past match against Cincinnati, where he dropped off. The ball takes off down the wing. He dropped to the top of the 18, got the pass, finished. But what happens for Lucho is Bupenza drops, Kubo drops. He likes to go wide, but then you're out in the wingback space because they're trying to find space as well. Your central midfielders are stepping up. It's almost like the accordion has collapsed on itself. You've got to find a way if you're Cincinnati. And I'm shocked they haven't played Sergio Santos more. I'm shocked they haven't played Corey Baird more. You need someone to stay higher. And we talk about it being a chess match a lot. You need Kubo scored 3 goals. He's been great this season. I think Bupenza, great player, gives you a ton. You almost need the right fit more than you need the production because you'll get more production from Acosta if you free him up and give him more space. Right now, there's no space for him. Even when he drifts wide, that becomes a little more predictable this way because if he drifts wide and guys are dropped back, you're able to defend a lot easier. Your center backs are free. They can deal with it. If they want to go follow him, they can go follow him, or they can pass him off to the fullbacks, and then they're free. They're sweepers. If you have a 9 up high and he drifts out wide, it's a lot harder to deal with.
I'm going to be interested to see how we see it in the match tomorrow, where we're going to pick out those moments and find if Cincinnati's able to create something out of it. Because you mentioned it too. Cincinnati hasn't had that production in a while. And it's something that they haven't had since Vasquez has been there. And trying to pinpoint that is going to be interesting. And I'm interested to see how they're going to develop it tomorrow and how it's all going to play out, especially going up against a side like Atlanta, who really likes to have the ball and drives forward the press. That is a huge thing for Atlanta. And will Cincinnati be able to handle it?
2 of the best defenses in the league. They're tied for the fewest goals conceded. So Cincy has improved their defense. You add Miles Robinson, you're going to do that. You add DeAndre Yedlin, you're going to do that. But for Atlanta, the way that you can exploit Cincinnati, in my opinion, is Orejano on the left, a winger converted to wing back. On the right side, DeAndre Yedlin is a fullback converted to wing back. So Yedlin naturally will stay home a little bit more. We know he can get forward and be a problem, but he's going to be a better defender. So the right side can be dealt with, especially if Robinson is the right-sided center back. The left side has been an issue for them because Orejano doesn't like to come back and defend. He doesn't like the defensive part of that job. And Ian Murphy, he got subbed out in Montreal. He was not great in that game. Kip Keller came over from Austin. He hasn't locked down the left center back position either. When Nick Hagelin plays, that means you move Miles Robinson over to that left side. So I'm really curious to see who Cincinnati starts in the back line. Robinson on the left is weaker than on the right. He's on his off foot more. If he's on the right and Yedlin's to the outside of him, that right side's difficult to deal with. Atlanta's strength is on their right side, though. So I kind of think what Cincinnati is going to do, my gut feeling would be they move Robinson to left center back to try to deal with Lennon and Saba getting into the channel. They play Hagelin as the right center back and kind of hedge their bets that Atlanta's left side hasn't been as productive. I'd rather try to take away Lennon and Saba, break that up, and I'll take my bets over on this side. So wherever the weaker outside center back is, I think you have to target that a little bit because Hagelin hasn't kept the job, Keller hasn't kept the job, and Murphy hasn't kept the job. Make them pay for that.
And you mentioned his name. We have to talk about it. Miles Robinson coming back to Atlanta tomorrow. He's the first time he's back since he left for Cincinnati. It's kind of a bittersweet, and it's always that way when a player who's played for you, who's had the success that he's had with the club, was a part of the MLS championship team, Open Cup, Campeones Cup, like you name it, he was a part of it. And having that player come back and that little ceremonial thing he's going to have, what are you expecting to see from fans and from everyone when he steps foot back onto the bench tomorrow?
He will get a great round of applause, as he should. I would imagine it would be similar to what Atlanta did for Joseph and for Tata before the Miami game last year, where they'll highlight them in warmups. that should be the way to do it. Let the crowd honor Miles for what he did here. Same for Alec Can, because he might start for Cincinnati as well. It's between him and Evan Loro. They deserve that. But they're not here anymore. So it's that thing. And I like where we're at as a club, because this means we've got history. This means that we've got some legacy, and guys came in, did a great job, won trophies, will be honored here in whatever, Ring of Honor or whatever we have down the line. But when they move on for Miles, he handled things the right way. I mean, you didn't hear one peep from Miles negative about the club. You didn't hear anything like that. I thought he handled things absolutely in a professional manner. It was a better opportunity for him to sign a shorter term deal, get paid maybe roughly the same, maybe a little bit more, but have more flexibility. Whereas for Atlanta United, they didn't want to give that, and they really didn't need to. They wanted, if he was going to stay, to lock him up for a longer term deal. Miles wants that flexibility, because if he's part, for example, this year, if he's part of a Copa America deep run for the U.S., he might have an option to go to Europe very quickly. He wants to be able to take that. So it works out for everybody. Maybe it's different if he doesn't do the Achilles when he did. Maybe he's more willing to stay and be in one spot for the run of his career. We don't know, and we'll never know that. But I think he handled things professionally. I hope he gets a huge round of applause, and I hope somebody trades jerseys with him afterwards after Atlanta wins.
Yeah, gonna quote Brad Guzan a little bit from when we talked to him in media. Great guy. I'm gonna wish him luck, pat him on the back for those 90 minutes. It's business.
Yeah, I mean,
it's business. You
give him a hug, you catch up with him before the game, same after. But 90 minutes is 90 minutes, and if Daniel Rios has to run over Miles Robinson to score a goal, he needs to run him over. I mean, that's just how it is.
I am going to be cheering very happy when he is coming on to the pitch. And 100%. Then as soon as he is in those one-on-ones, I am absolutely rooting for the downfall, for sure.
You have to. And I think the good things from that perspective of how Atlanta can challenge him is, one, Daniel Rios is going to be coming in with confidence after getting a goal. I think every minute he's on the field, it helps him figure out how Gonzalo Pineda wants him to play, how his teammates want him to play, and how he can adjust his natural tendencies to do that. But also, Yorgos Giacomakis is training, and he's available. So I would be shocked if he started. He's missed some time here lately. So fitness, you don't want to push that. You want to go slow. But in a perfect world, you don't need him. But if you do, if it's a tight game and you bring him on for the last 30 minutes, he will be like a caged animal getting out of the cage. That's just how he is, and that's a nice weapon to have.
Absolutely.
If you're Miles, you don't want to deal with that.
No. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, would pay money to see a Miles Robinson and GG going just head to head, one-on-one, driving forward, and see what happens.
And those are the two who, they would absolutely clobber each other for however long they're both on the field, and then shake hands and probably trade jerseys after.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just, they're both competitors. They're both physical. They are both all in for the 90, but they also understand what it is and what it's about. And that, going back to Philadelphia, that's the difference. That's what you get out of games like this. I think that's what we all like to see. Sometimes a nice rivalry fight, that kind of stuff is good, but it gets really annoying when it gets cheap. I think Miles is a great competitor. I think Cincinnati, it's a great competitive team. It's in a tight spot right now. They've lost a couple games in a row. They haven't won in 3. They are going to be really up for this, and Atlanta at home's always up for it.
And I also think, too, Atlanta's home is up for it because, you play in front of all those fans, obviously.
It's such a rush.
For sure, it's a rush, but also, too, you want to come out of the Philadelphia Union game learning something, and you want the 3 points at home. You can't continue to drop multiple points at home when you have that advantage and you're getting 1 point. You're getting no points. You have to go in expecting to be getting those 3 points tomorrow.
Well, talk about what you're going to do tomorrow. You're going to, as you've been in the press box for the last couple of games, you're going to report on the game and give fans who are in the building keeping up with it, because everybody's got their phone out. They're looking at Instagram and social media during the game. But people at home, you're going to give that perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's KSU night tomorrow. And, I'm a senior, so I'm going to be leaving KSU at the beginning of May. About to graduate. I'm this close. Every single week it comes through. I'm counting down the days, but and that was a reason too. And also, I think it's an interesting story to take because of how impactful Atlanta has been, the fan base, especially for United. They're the heartbeat of the club. And that has been something that's been echoed, I think, since 2014, when it was initially being told Atlanta was getting an expansion club. And I think it being the anniversary of it, I feel like it's perfect to really tie the knot and really give the voice of the people who have been supporting this team since the very beginning. And I think it's cool.
I need to do the numbers now that we're actually getting this information. This year is the first year that we're getting the Sportech information. The Bundesliga, if you've watched the Bundesliga on the ESPN networks, they'll show you how many miles people run and how many sprints. And it's jumped out to me this year, for example, Saba outsprints everybody on every team because he's an animal. Yeah. And Bartek runs a ton. I think, and I've heard this, but I haven't actually run the numbers yet, Atlanta United runs a whole lot more at home, both from distance and from sprints, than they do on the road. And I really think the reason why is the fuel that they get from the stands. You're tired and you push past it more because you're getting that rush. It's a wild effect. And at times, when you've got a 3-4 goal lead, okay, dial it down. You don't need to make those runs. You don't need to make those sprints. You can actually rest a little bit. But it's a huge bonus in tight games in the 75th minute, in the 80th minute. You're tired. Your lungs are on fire. Your legs are heavy. And you get that roar from the crowd, and it fuels you to make that sprint that you need.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan since 2017. I went to the inaugural match. I remember feeling the energy, even though we didn't win that night. I mean, I still felt it, like being there, and it's always fun. I always would go sit there. We were founding members of the club, so I would go sit, in our little section of 232. That's where we sat.
At Bobby Dodd?
Not here.
Oh, okay.
At here. We sat over at 232 for the whole time, and it was really fun. And it's always been the community aspects, what's always drew me to Atlanta as well. And so I'm excited to be in the community tomorrow, kind of get to tailgate with some of the supporter sections tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun, and just get to talk to some people about how they found the club and what it means to them.
So for people who want to, along with listening on 92.9 The Game, of course.
Which you should be listening.
Or the Odyssey app.
You should listen on 92.9 The Game on Odyssey.
If you're at home, you can watch on Apple TV and listen there too.
Yes.
But while you're doing that, if you want to follow the fan perspective, how?
You can catch us. It's going to be on Soccer Down Here. It's on our Instagram. That'll be where you'll find most of it. It'll be on our Instagram stories. I'll be taking you kind of throughout the tailgating all the way up till the end, and you hear that final whistle blow. We'll be showing everything I possibly can, and I'll be getting some information, some photos, and, some fun stuff. It's KSU night, so you'll get to meet hopefully some KSU students. I'm going with a big group of my friends as well. I would imagine
there's going to be a lot of owls in the building.
Listen, we're getting a really cool, banner. Yeah. It's like a thing they designed. It's an Atlanta United. It has a KSU, it's a full thing. And once I get it, I'll show it off and I'll post it on the thing so y'all get to see it. But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, make sure you're following at Soccer Down Here. If you're not already, what are you doing? You're doing
Absolutely.
things wrong. Make sure you're following it. Make sure you are getting the notifications, especially tomorrow, for those stories from the stands from Maddie. Starts with tailgating at 5 o'clock or so?
I believe so. I believe the plan, from what I was told before I left to come here, was we're heading down here at 3.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Y'all are really doing the tailgate. I like it.
Yeah, we're getting down here early. We're going to
drink water,
stay hydrated, and then we're going to have a great time, and we're going to watch Atlanta United get another 3 points.
Yes, I like I like the energy. I like it.
Absolutely, as it should. But I think it's time for me to tag out and bring in Jon.
Hot tag to Jon Nelson.
Hot tag. You guys can talk about the magic of the Open Cup.
We can talk about all kinds of different things going on in the world of soccer right now because it's delirious as usual.
Delirious, yes. I have the third round here from the Open Cup in front of me.
Okay.
Would it be a safe assumption to say that, and like I said, in the Open, I gave the example that at times when you have 2 days of competition, that it's almost like the NCAA tournament at times, where if one day's calm, the next one is where you get all your upsets. One's crazy, and 12s beat 5s, and 13s beat 4s, and there's chaos, and then you got a day with chalk.
Nah, I mean, sometimes we probably remember those days a little bit more. Sometimes in the Open Cup and in the NCAA tournament, it's just pure liquid chaos for the whole thing.
Yeah, we had that on the second day this past week.
Sometimes every day is liquid chaos.
Tuesday, it was, I mean, you had a couple of wins. Our buddy Michael Parkhurst, the mogul in training.
Yes.
They were going up against the Charlotte Independents. They went to PKs tied at 4, and Charlotte makes it through on a save in the bottom of the 5th when it came to PKs. So
that's a cup set.
Yes. So that was a definite cup set. We'll catch up. We'll hear from Mike Jeffries, the head coach of the Independents, here in a bit. The full interview is up on the app, as a matter of fact. Lou City wins over Greenville. Detroit City wins. New Mexico wins. And El Farolito, our favorite burrito restaurant chain in the San Francisco Bay Area, I believe they get the $25,000 for the best showing.
I think that might actually be split because it comes down to basically like how many points you get. And I think they advanced on a penalty shootout for one, and somebody else had a natural win. So I think it's a little confusing. They're going to get some money, which is good.
Yeah, and Miami United would be the other team to get the money. I think they were both tied.
Yeah,
so
I think
either way, it's going to be $12,500. Folks were saying through the tiebreaker, El Farolito gets the whole thing at $25,000. So we'll find out.
We'll find out. They're going to get paid. It's good.
Either way, somebody's getting paid, and it's going to be cool.
It's good. El Farolito has better burritos, and Miami United has better uniforms.
True. Especially flush out of the Miami Vice era with those throwbacks that they had.
Crockett and Tubbs.
Day 2. We had chaos. You wanted your liquid chaos. We had 9 games going early.
Liquid chaos. That was the hot mic in Hartford.
Hartford Athletic and NYCFC 2.
One, I'm convinced the person who at one point grabbed the field microphone and said, "That was an obvious red card." I'm paraphrasing. "That was an obvious red card. What are you doing? I know this mic is on." I am convinced that was a Hartford staff person.
Okay.
Because I heard the voice later and they were calling the coach by name.
Okay.
Maybe just a really plugged in fan, but I think it might have been a staff person.
They go for a while. They're 2-2. They get past the first 15. They're getting into the second 15. NYCFC 2 scores.
Yeah, great goal from one of the top teenagers in the country, and Maximo Carrizo. We saw him with the U17s for NYC last fall.
Yeah.
And he's legit. He's in Argentina's youth national team pool, and the U.S. is trying to get him. They need to. He's that good.
Then the game did not finish 11-11.
Hartford didn't handle the adversity very well. They got some red cards. One was meh. One was absolutely earned.
Yes.
They finished with 9. They probably should have finished with 8. I think a staff person on the bench got sent off as well.
True.
They did not tie the record that Atlanta FC has that I was a part of on the bench.
Yes.
Where we had 3 red cards and a coach sent off. They didn't get there. They got close, but they didn't get there. And maybe some other coach didn't say things I can't repeat on the microphone right now.
You still need to write a book.
I might.
You need to write a book of the magic of the Open Cup.
It might happen. I could tell a lot of stories about that one, yes.
So 3-2, NYCFC 2 wins. They advance, and they're a bit of an interesting story in the next round coming up in a bit.
Yep.
North Carolina beats Carolina Core 1-0.
Carolina Core had chances. They had Amado Guevara, former MLS MVP, assistant coach. He got sent off. I can't really say I blame him for watching some of that game. There were some very questionable decisions being made by the man in charge with the cards and the whistle. It was very weird.
Oh, by the way, John Freeman's in the middle for Montreal and Orlando this week.
Okay.
That's what I figured the response.
He's generally been very good. He had some very good games last year. He's moved up the ladder very well. Doesn't mean every game's going to be good. And sometimes it needs to be.
Yes.
I should stop.
Stephen Glass, Memphis 901. Your Miami United folks. They lose to Stephen Glass and Memphis 901.
Hey, Memphis, we saw what they did in the Open Cup here last year. They are not an easy out, especially with the kid who loves the cup more than anybody, Knight Pickering. He is going to be a player that you're going to hear about over the years. He's great.
Memphis 901. Pay me my money. Knights of Pickering is going to be worth some money for Memphis 901.
Yep, that's the cool thing about where this game is in this country right now, where he was in Dallas's academy. They weren't going to sign him to a homegrown deal. They probably had guys in his position ahead of him. So he says, you know what, I'm going to leave. I'll go sign a pro deal with the USL team, which isn't territorially blocked or anything. I'll go sign a pro deal, and then Memphis is going to get paid. That's good on Memphis to take the chance and to play him. And there's not a straight pathway for everybody. Sometimes you got to move to go find your pathway, and Pickering did.
South Georgia Tormenta goes to Florida International's soccer stadium. They don't play at the football stadium for this one. They went to the soccer stadium.
Probably cheaper.
Won it 4-2, but it was because the Miami FC, not
the Miami FC,
not a Miami FC.
Get it right.
The Miami FC,
just like the Ohio State University.
Yes. The Miami FC, they've had a rough start this year in USL Championship.
Right now, they're lowercase the Miami FC.
Yeah. And so we find out at the end of the first half that there's a reason that the keeper got substituted off.
Well, he didn't get substituted. That's what we found out.
Yeah, because he got a red.
He was asked to leave. We were not told that initially by the broadcast. They were on site too, weren't they?
No,
they were down the street.
Yeah, they were down the street.
Basically, down the street in the room. So then it makes a little more sense that they didn't know. Yeah, look, that's the challenge of it. When you're not on site, you don't get to see everything. We just see the keeper leaving. We'd seen a collision. Didn't really look like he was injured, but he didn't. We didn't see the red card on the broadcast, and we didn't really know what was going on. The announcers didn't know either. We find out during the halftime break.
Late halftime in the highlights. They found it on a cutaway camera.
Yeah, they finally say, oh, yeah, he got sent off. We should probably talk about that. So that gave the advantage, and they took care of it, South Georgia Tormenta, as the half went on. Look, Miami's a good team. I think they have talent. They're just not clicking. They've got to figure that out. Nocerino, I think, is potentially going to be a nice manager, but they're not there right now. And South Georgia Tormenta, they know exactly who they are. They know exactly the way that they want to play. And when you have a man advantage for that long, it did take them to extra time, but they took care of business.
They won it 4-2. Speaking of extra time, Birmingham Legion, Chattanooga Red Wolves, 4-2 final there.
Yeah, Chattanooga was pesky. They hung around. They were dominated, is maybe unfair. They were controlled by Birmingham.
Yeah.
But they hung around. They made it difficult. They weren't able to get through. They did take it to extra time. That's a good performance for Chattanooga Red Wolves.
So Red Wolves lose in extra time. Union Omaha and El Paso, they don't score. Then they go the extra 30 minutes. They still don't score. They go to PKs, and the 17-year-old academy kid for Union Omaha gets the goal to get them through in the PKs.
I love seeing more academy players for USL championship teams. Like we talk about making the national team better with homegrowns from MLS and homegrowns like here in Atlanta United. We need homegrowns in Statesboro. We need homegrowns in Birmingham. We need homegrowns in these markets as well, because there's nothing in the water in an MLS market that's different than in a USL championship market. They can develop players too. We need to see that kid from Omaha breaking through. Love to see it.
Indy wins, Tulsa wins, Monterey Bay was one of the two matches that we did not watch because it was a late start.
Mm-hmm.
Monterey Bay beats Irvine Zeta, and Las Vegas Lights go an extra 30, and they beat Spokane Velocity. So now we know with the 8 MLS teams that are now in.
All right, give me the matchups, and I'll give you off-the-cuff predictions.
Okay. And we also have sound from two.
We have sound from two of them.
All right. So do you want to build back toward this particular division?
If you're feeling fancy, go for it.
All right. So we'll go from west to east.
We'll go west to east. We'll respect the Pacific time zone.
I guess.
Let's go.
New Mexico United RSL.
Ooh, that's at New Mexico?
Yes.
I think you get a cup set.
I can see that.
I think you get a cup set. New Mexico is a tough team to beat at home. It's kind of a funky place to play. RSL is a very good team, but I think they're a good team at being an underdog as opposed to being a favorite. I think New Mexico takes care of business. Cup set.
And the funky, you want the funkiness where all the groups never make sense.
Sure. I mean, yeah, look, you could look at the teams that are in it here. There was no way you could geographically make it work. So it's funky. It had to be funky because of the teams that were left.
The H1, the top home seed in that particular division is NYCFC2. They will be playing at Belson Stadium in Queens, New York on the campus of St. John's University, capacity 2156.
Hopefully they have the camera not on the field this time, but actually in the pseudo press box.
And Colorado Springs will be visiting.
I think NYC wins.
Yeah.
Colorado Springs hasn't. I need to look at their roster. I might be wrong, but they haven't wowed me. New York City might drop a couple guys down to get a game there.
I think so.
Perhaps, depending on where the first team is. I think NYC gets the win. Cup set.
All right. So then you've got a group that has 2 Texas teams and 2 Midwest teams.
Okay. What we got?
Houston and Detroit City at Hell in a Shell in Houston.
Houston wins.
Indy 11 against San Antonio. They don't know where they're playing it yet, but it's in the Indianapolis
area. Don't know
area.
where they're playing it?
Listed as a TBD. Traditionally, it's at Michael Carroll Stadium on the campus of IUPUI.
Look,
but now listed as a TBD.
I love that we're getting new professional teams and we're growing and we're doing all this, but when you have a cup game in a couple of weeks and you're playing at TBD, that's not very professional. Can we just get the venue locked down, please?
Just go ahead and play it at the mic and get it over with.
I mean, I'm guessing it's not available.
That's yeah. So maybe they'll play it indoors at
play in a public park. Come on, let's go.
That's what Tulsa does.
That might as well.
All right, we got 3.
So okay, it's Indy hosting San Antonio
in
a public park.
San Antonio.
I got to pull for San Antonio just on the premise.
There you go. 3 California teams and an odd one.
Okay.
Well, 3 Western teams and an odd one. Okay. Vegas and LAFC at Cashman.
Vegas and LAFC at Cashman, LAFC.
Orange County at Championship Soccer Stadium in Irvine, California.
Okay.
Hosting Loudoun United.
That's a long trip for Loudoun. Orange County wins.
Now we have the 3 California teams, actually the 4 California teams.
Okay.
San Jose and Oakland at PayPal Park.
That's an interesting game, actually.
Oakland.
We've seen San Jose get upset by the lower division teams, somewhat local before.
Oakland.
Yeah, I don't want to pick so many cup sets, but man, I have no belief in Jarrett Smith's San Jose Earthquakes right now.
And everything in that particular division goes through Sacramento. Sacramento's the H1. Monterey Bay visits.
Sacramento takes care of business.
I think they take care of that group by the time
they very well could.
You got 2 in the East and 2 in the West.
Okay.
North Carolina hosting Phoenix Rising. North Carolina FC.
Phoenix has a good bit more talent. North Carolina's at home. I think Phoenix gets it done. I think they win.
Lou City at Seattle, but it's at Starfire.
Seattle wins. Seattle's not going to lose to a team coming across the country at Starfire. They're really tough to beat at Starfire. I've been to games at Starfire. We were out there for the 2007 U23 National Championships with Lawrenceville FC. We didn't play in the stadium at Starfire. We played on the opposite field. I went over to watch a game there. It's so small. It's a really cool place to watch a game. It will be full. It will be loud. Seattle gets it done.
3 in the Midwest and 1 on the outside.
Okay.
Pittsburgh and FC Tulsa at Highmark.
Pittsburgh. Bob Lilly ain't losing that game.
And besides, if he does, he'll just be screaming.
He'll throw someone in the river.
Union Omaha against Sporting Kansas City at the University of Nebraska Omaha's Caniglia Field.
Kansas City, because Peter Vermes might find a river to throw somebody in.
Exactly. 3 Southern teams and a host.
Okay.
FC Dallas hosting Memphis 901 because Memphis could not host.
That's a really interesting game because Dallas is not in a good way at the moment, and Memphis is. And you might have the revenge of Night to Pickering.
Mm-hmm.
I will go with a cup set for our guy, Stephen Glass.
And then a USL Championship matchup, Birmingham Legion at Tampa Bay Rowdies at Al Lang.
That's a street fight right there. There might be multiple red cards. There might be 40-plus fouls. That will be a nasty game. I think the Rowdies win.
Now to this group, the Alonzo Division.
Yes, I like the names, too. That's very cool.
Charleston Battery, for the 725th time, it seems, in cup competitions, is playing South Georgia Tormenta, this time at Patriots Point.
They've only played Atlanta United 724 times. Tormentas went there and won before, right?
Yeah.
I think Charleston gets it done.
Yeah.
I think they're better this year. I think they are a year further into the Ben Pierman era, and I think they'll handle it, but I don't think it'll be easy.
Maddie caught up with Ian Cameron, the head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, and asked him about this mentality that they have going on the road, getting the win like they did last time, and having to have that same mentality going to Charleston.
I don't know. We've got a pretty good away record over the last few years as a staff. I don't think we can pinpoint exactly what it is. It's just something that we've been good at. We're not scared. It's become a thing, but I think a couple of dynamics play into it. One is we've got a group of players that like playing in hostile environments. That's something we challenge the group with. Of you want to be a pro footballer, you want to go to where fan bases are singing your name or getting on top of you. That's the theatre that young boys should want to play in. And then if they're going to go up levels and play in the championship, play in the MLS one day, then that's what you're striving for. So embrace that side. And then I think the second component part that we know for sure that is good is we're not the biggest budget team in the world, but our owners and our front office do a really nice job in little details when we travel to make sure that the boys are well fed, to make sure the rest is there, to make sure the activation coach does a nice job pre-game, the travel, all those wee things go in. So our group rarely goes away from home and feels frustrated about something external from the field. What's within our control, our organisation does a really good job to take care of. So then the guys are left to go and perform. And I think those two component parts we can certainly say are pillars of our success on the road.
2 big points by Ian Cameron, having a roster, and it's a lot of turnover from year to year.
Yeah, it is.
Having guys that embrace the idea of being on the road in these competitions and wanting to win these kinds of things, not being afraid of what you want to do on the road.
Yeah, look, when you build a team with an identity, you're looking for guys who fit your coach's identity, and that is on the field and style of play as much as it is personality. And I think when you get guys who are willing to go on the road and fight and scratch and claw and persevere in those moments, that's an Ian Cameron kind of team. So he's got the team that he wants. They're going to make Charleston suffer for it. I do think Charleston gets it done, but it might be an extra time kind of match.
And the other point that Ian Cameron made, and it's something that we don't really pay a whole lot of attention to, it's the attention to detail by the organization to make sure that you have the tools available to you to do that well on the road.
Look, that's the growth of the Open Cup as well, in the sense that organizations take it seriously. There are some who get it and get the power of it and get what it can mean for your club. I can speak to it from an Atlanta FC perspective. From my time there, we were an NPSL team. We had a player in Junior Sandoval who was 17 at the time. I think he might have just turned 18, was a high school senior, played in the match at Charleston, and Colin Clark, then of the Puerto Rico Islanders, saw him play in that game, then saw the fall that he had at Georgia Perimeter and said, this is a kid that I want, and signed him to a pro deal. This is a shop window for guys. It's a shop window for teams, though, as well, because Tormenta can say, hey, we went on the road. We beat Miami. You want to come play for a winner, come play for Tormenta, come to Statesboro. So there's a value in these games. And I think Tormenta, all the way from the top on down, they have built an organization that takes this stuff seriously, and it's starting to pay off. I think you're getting a caliber of player that maybe they couldn't get in the past.
The other matchup in the Alonzo division.
Why do you say it like that?
Because it's almost lyrical. Alonzo.
Okay.
The Alonzo division.
Just asking.
So you end up now with Atlanta United coming into the tournament, one of the 8 new MLS teams in addition to the 8 USL Championship teams that are part of it. They host Charlotte Independence up at the Fraction on the 7th at 7:30.
Tuesday night, 7:30, May 7th. If you have not been to a senior game for Atlanta United at the Fraction in Kennesaw, it's a very fun experience. You can hear everything. If you're bringing the kids with you, you might need to say earmuffs a few times. It can be a little interesting. If you're playing a Philadelphia team, they might kick the ball in the stands and then scream at you, because that's what they do. Mm-hmm. You will get an experience, so it's very different than the Benz. So I know it can be a haul depending on what part of town you're from, but it is absolutely worth it. And you get to see things up close. You get to hear things up close that you're not used to. It's a fun experience. The Open Cup matters. We saw it in 2019. So this is a pathway into CONCACAF. Atlanta United wants to be in CONCACAF next year. They win the Open Cup. They are.
Maddie also caught up with the head coach of Charlotte Independence, Mike Jeffries, about getting through the Rhode Island match, surviving that. Now you're a part of the round of 32. Here's Maddie catching up with Coach Jeffries.
And you mentioned it. Speaking of the next round, today was announced that you guys will be facing off against MLS side and Atlanta United. You guys will be coming down here to Kennesaw to play at Fifth Third Stadium. Leading up to that match, it's a little bit of ways away. What was your initial reaction when you found out you'd be playing Atlanta?
Look, I was excited for the guys. I mean, part of the motivation when you're a League One club, it's certainly you want to be the last one standing and from your division. But part of the motivation is, look, we want to get a game and play an MLS club. And, I think for players individually, they love to be on the field in those situations and kind of see where they're at and so forth. So I'm excited for the guys and looking forward to it. And I know, with the MLS teams that are in it now, it's, obviously a very serious competition for them. So, we know we'll get a great run. And I think it's a great opportunity for us as a club, but also for the guys individually.
You mentioned opportunity with South Georgia Tormenta. Same opportunity is going to be there for Charlotte Independence now, too, to showcase themselves against an MLS side.
Yeah, same thing. Look, we've seen it over the years, whether we're talking cup competitions in any country. Lower division team comes to play a first division team, and guys show out, and then the top division team is like, hey, that guy's pretty good. We might need to sign him. That happens. This is an opportunity for Charlotte to show that. And they're in a unique situation being a lower division club in a city that has an MLS team. They want to show that they can play with the big boys. Atlanta's going to be in an interesting spot there because if they win that and then play again later in the month, you're talking at potentially, I think, 9 games in the month of May. You're going to have to rotate heavily. It's really good, like right now, that you get Noah Cobb, you get Luis Abram games. You need to get Stian Gregerson back, and he's been on the field this week. That's good. Getting Daniel Rios a game and games here is very good. You need to get Yorgos Yakimakis back. You need to get Sean De Silva back. It's good Tyler Wolff has gotten games. The ability to go deeper into the roster right now is good for the upcoming Open Cup games because you're going to have to. You got a Tuesday game coming up after a Saturday game. You're going to need to rely on some guys who don't play on Saturday to play on Tuesday. You might need to rely on some second-team players. You might need to rely on guys like Luke Brennan. You need to look at that, and hopefully it will help that some of these guys have gotten games right now.
That's the big thing, is making sure that all of these outlets and opportunities that they're taking advantage of. So that when you have those relationships that you will have on the field in games that matter in multiple competitions in a short period of time, that level of comfort is there. It's like, I know symbiotically, okay, I know what this guy's going to do in this situation, and you're not thinking too hard or pressing to try to get something done.
Yeah, 100%. You need to get minutes, you need to get rhythm, and you've got players that are getting that. A little bit fortunate because of injury. Unfortunate for the guys who are injured, but it looks like most of them will be back by the time you get to the Open Cup. So that could end up being a really big bonus for a potential cup run for Atlanta United.
So make a day of it. Go to Fifth Third, get your tickets when they're available, and make a day of it and go spend a day with your friends up there with Atlanta United in the Open Cup.
And what happens when teams play at Fifth Third Bank Stadium?
Well, I mean, they lose if they're playing Atlanta United.
I try to set him up for his line and he fails.
What, the action at the Fraction?
John, what happens when teams and games happen at Fifth Third Bank Stadium?
It's action at the Fraction, people.
Yes, thank you. We have a shirt. I tried to set him up for it, and he failed the first time. It's very disappointing.
I didn't know what direction you were going.
Buy the T-shirt.
Buy the T-shirt. You go to soccerdownhere.net.
Yes.
And go to our store.
Yes.
And buy the Action at the Fraction T-shirt.
Yes.
And have guys like Ross Davenport doing national games reference it on the air.
Yes.
Those kinds of things.
Who came up with the phrase?
Us.
You. I'm not taking credit for it.
Us.
You.
It's a collective.
Me. I know sold it every single time.
Absolutely you did.
Trying to set you up and you missed it. Disappointing.
You're shocked?
Not really.
Maddie, come on up.
Or not. Well, I'll just share my mic. Let's that one doesn't want to cooperate very much right now.
I remember that same microphone
Bye, Abby.
being moody. Bye, Abby.
Bye, Terminus Legion, folks.
See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. And bye, Terminus Legion,
and yes,
folks.
we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, final questions from you guys. Oh, you gonna try it?
So your gut is
Nope.
No.
Doesn't want to work.
nope. So your gut feeling is, and looking at the lineup that FC Cincinnati put out against CF Montreal,
I think they'll make some changes.
you think
but
that
yeah.
they're going to flip Miles from the right to the left?
No, because I think Murphy subbing him when they did, I think it's going to be hard to put him back. You don't sub center backs unless they failed.
Yeah.
And it was a center back for a center back. That's basically saying, like, dude, you're going to the bench.
Right.
And if you play Hagland, he can't play on the left. So the decision is, do you play Nick Hagland on the right, Miles Robinson on the left, or do you play Kip Keller on the left and keep Miles Robinson on the right? That's the decision. I don't think you can go back to Murphy because you basically showed him in public, we don't believe in you.
Yeah. So, and this was in looking at that lineup before thinking about your idea of having Miles on the left-hand side. I was thinking that was looking at how things were with the starting lineup with Cincinnati, that it was going to be the Atlanta right-hand side of the attack going up against that left-hand side.
I mean, that's the strength. You know, Atlanta's right side is the strength of this team. So you're going to rely on that. And you need to get more from the left. Like, you can't be one-dimensional. You need to get more from that left wing position. If Sean De Silva is able to get back into the group, that helps. Tyler Wolff, I think, is struggling for confidence a little bit right now.
Yeah.
He's gotten minutes, but he hasn't done enough with them. Edwin Mosquera, Derek Etienne, fighting for minutes. I think you need to get more out of the left. And Shonde getting healthy helps. But he, even before he was hurt, wasn't giving as much as you thought he might. So you've got to get more out of the left side so you're not one-dimensional, but the right side's your strength. So you got to lean on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Shonde also just brings some creative energy that I feel like, I mean, we have that too with Saba, with Sleesh. Like, we have that. I feel like Silva brings that added just like creative oomph to the team that is needed. And I mean, you mentioned it too. He wasn't creating as much on that left side, but he was still, when he wasn't there, he was all over the place, getting things where he needed to go. And I think having him back there is going to be great. I thought Wolff in the last match, you mentioned struggle for confidence. Yeah. He had a couple of loose touches, just some sloppy touches, bringing it forward. He just needed to find the ground for himself. So obviously Silva and Gigi are still questionable. Not exactly sure if they will be there, if they'll even get the start. They won't get the start, but
I'd be shocked if they start.
Yeah, but getting in there, maybe they'll train with the team. I'm interested to see how it works, but it'll be nice to have them both back.
Yeah, I think just getting them back into the mix is good. Getting Shonde away from driving the carts at the training ground and yelling at people while they do interviews and stuff, I think getting him back on the field is a good thing. He has dyed his hair. He is looking rather Cisco-esh. You know, I mean, Cisco was who I thought of when I saw his hair. It's a bold move. It's a bold move. Usually, I think it is a safe guess when guys dye their hair, very bright colors, very bold moves.
Yes.
They're feeling pretty good.
Yes, Saba is a frosted blonde last year.
I'm talking about like when they immediately do it. Like immediately, like he's got dark hair. Oh, he's Cisco. Okay. He's feeling good about himself. So he should come in with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I look fantastic.
I'm expecting if he's able to go, and look, he's coming back from injury. We have to wait and see. But if he gets on the field, I think you see like pure Shonde time of whatever crazy move he's got in the bag, he's going to pull it.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be on that highlight. He wants to pull out the Spider-Man mask. He wants to show off the hair, all of those things. Yes. So I think Shonde's in a good spot right now, and hopefully you get him on the field tomorrow.
All things being equal, what do you think the starting 11 looks like? with the information that we have on hand now, who's questionable?
I mean, I don't think Shonday and Yorgo start. So and TRA is not available, so it's got to be Rio. So you would assume. I don't think he can go 90. Yeah. So how deep can he go? The left, I mean, it's Wolf, it's Etienne, it's Mosquera. I don't know. I don't know if Tyler did enough to keep the spot. Everything else should be the same. I can't imagine you make any other changes. So I think those are the two. The left wing is the one that's kind of an open competition because I just don't think Shonday's going to be in a position to start. So we have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much of a change. I'll be interested to see if maybe instead of Wolf, we do see NTN Jr. take in that position just because of how well he's been performing with the twos. Obviously, not looking at that matchup against Philadelphia as that crutch there, but even two looking at it. I feel like NTN's been doing a great job with the two so far, and I'd be interested to see if maybe Pineda is going to take that chance instead of Wolf because I think he noticed it, or if he's going to stick with his guns because Wolf knows the team a little better and he knows more of that chemistry with it.
The wild card not to start but to play is Luke Brennan. Luke Brennan's been really good for Atlanta United too. Brennan is a great 1v1 player. Depending on how you move things around, if you get the opportunity to put Brennan in on the right side, if you're late in the game, you want to run at Luca Ortejano, who doesn't love to defend.
Right.
Brennan is a really good possibility there. Luke it's been really cool to watch his development. It's been really cool to hear him talk. One of the big things that came out of Monday night for me in a 5-0 loss for the Twos is losses, period. 5-0 losses. Guys don't want to talk to the media afterwards. It was Luke Brennan who was the first one out there, and Luke doesn't like doing media. Mm-hmm. He's short with his answers. He's getting the experience of doing media, but the fact that he did it, I think, shows a different level of confidence, of composure that we're used to seeing from him. So if he gets the opportunity at the Benz, I think he can handle it.
We're not going to talk about the dog in the first half, are we?
We already did. It should have been called. It wasn't. Referee on Monday was worse than the referee on Sunday. I know that's hard to believe, but it was true.
Yeah, it was not good. Try it again. We're going to attempt it again. I think. Oh, my gosh.
I don't know. Well.
Maybe
you get one question in because we're down to the end of the show.
Absolutely. I'll just keep it like this. No, I mean, I think it'd be so fun to get Brennan out there. Are you kidding? I mean, that kid is crazy. When he's on the pitch, I mean, he is going absolutely nuts. The way he's just able to kind of just slip into those like tight little spaces. And I think he can really exploit a Cincinnati defense with kind of what they're lacking in on that side. I feel like Brennan would be a great choice if you need that extra spark coming in.
Yep.
And even if you just want to put the lead away, I feel like if you want to take somebody off, give them a little bit of a rest, you can put Brennan on it and he will still give you the same performance day in, day out.
The development of the players from Atlanta United to this year that we've seen since Next Pro started last year. Cobb playing like a grown man. Jay Fortune playing like a grown man. Efrain Morales, you haven't seen him with the first team yet, playing like a grown man. These are kids. Luke Brennan, same thing. So the development process is very, very good. Not every player who comes through the twos is going to make it. I think you've got a crop of guys that are showing an increased maturity, increased professionalism, and I think they can contribute for the first team if needed at the Benz. But I think when we talk Open Cup, you're going to look at a lot of those guys to get the job done in Open Cup and advance the team further. We're actually past where I thought we were going to go. So that will do it for our night before show, getting ready for Atlanta and Cincinnati. Tomorrow on Soccer Down Here social media, Maddie will have the fan perspective all day, starting with tailgating early in the day. We'll be live on 92.9 The Game for this one and the Odyssey app starting at 6:30. Five Stripes Countdown with Abe Gordon, Garrett Chapman will get you started. You can also listen once the game starts on Apple TV's MLS Season Pass. And Mike Conti and I will have the call for you there. Full-time report for an hour after to take you home. John will be in the stadium on the Halo board yelling and screaming and gesticulating with Joe Fryhofer. So big day of action at the Benz. Hopefully we see or talk to a lot of you with all of our things. Scott Flood, thank you as always. A little bit more. A little bit more. That's Scott Flood. Awesome. Thank you to everybody here at REVERB. Thanks to everybody who came out. Thanks to everybody listening. Mucha plata, y'all.